What is up, YouTube? That's here, and today I'm proud to be bringing you guys a cool new set of videos where I'm going to be looking at teams submitted by you viewers, and I'm going to be tweaking them. I'm going to be fixing all of your EV spreads. I'm going to be giving my feedback and how I would personally change these teams to make them the best that they can be. We're going to be taking a look at teams submitted by my Patreon. You guys can submit your teams by clicking the link to the Patreon in the description. Pretty much the way this works is every single week, every single couple weeks, I do a big post like this where I open up teams to be submitted. We're going to be taking a look at VGC 2020 Series 6 teams. So if you have a team you want to submit, click the link to that Patreon, drop a team there, and we're going to be, like I said, going super in-depth. This is a team we're going to be looking at today, submitted by Haru using Scarf Urshifu, Intimidate, Assault Vest Scrafty, Focus Sash, Gale Wings, Talonflame, Thick Fat Appleton, one of my favorites, Punk Rock, Throat Spray, Toxtricity, and last but not least, Triage, Safety Goggles, Comfy. What I'm going to be doing is using this team in a few games, talking about what I like, talking about what I don't like, and then plugging the team into Showdown where I can show all of the EV spreads and show how I can tweak the EV spreads, tweak the moveset, tweak the items, talk about the matchups, and talk about how I would personally make this team the best possible version of itself that it can be. So if that's something that you want for your teams, maybe you just want to show off your team to all of the wonderful people that watch on YouTube, maybe you want some feedback, maybe you just you know, want to learn more about EV training and how to correctly allocate your stats and build teams, think about submitting the team. Like I said, link to the Patreon is right here. We're going to just get right on into the videos though, and hopefully you guys like this video. If you guys like this type of content, I know I've been experimenting a little bit with the content. Let me know in the comments below. I really do feel that it's like my responsibility to help the community learn a little bit more about EV training and team building, because like I was watching a little bit of Pokemon YouTube content. I was like, cool, all these people that make a ton of content, yeah, they're really good battlers, but no one's showing how to team build, and no one's showing like correct items, and no one's explaining the reasons behind things. So what we're gonna be doing here is explaining the reasons behind things so you all can become better players. So hope you guys like that. Let me know if you want to see more of that stuff in the comments below. Let's get right on into the battles. Here we go. All right, going up into our very first game using Haru's super cool Choice Scarf Urshifu team. We see Reuniclus, Dusclops, Amoonguss, Arcanine, Primarina, Colossal. So a little bit of Primarina, Colossal. We're not really having the best matchup against Colossal unless we go with like a Urshifu Talonflame lead. And one good thing about Urshifu Talonflame is that I really think that it's like pretty decent against Trick Room as well, because we can taunt the Dusclops. The only thing that I want to say before we even get into this, I know I'm going to go for a huge team review breakdown at the end of the video, but I'm actually thinking that the Safety Goggles might be better on Talonflame. It makes it such a good Amoonguss check. But we're just going to go with this. Hopefully, if they want to go with like Primarina Colossal, we can just set Tailwind and then still outspeed said Colossal. And then if they want to go for like Dusclops, we can just go for Taunts. If they want to eat Amoonguss and something, we can just go for Big Brave Birds or Max Flares or what have you. We're probably going to be in a pretty good spot. I'm curious as to what else I should really be bringing in this matchup. Arcanine is pretty good. I think I'm actually going to bring the Appleton here. I know there is a Primarina, but I still think it's a pretty decent mon. I also think that like Scrafty could be kind of decent. I think Appleton's good though, and I do think that we're going to need the G-Max Scrafty to finish off the Primarina near the end of the matchup. So hopefully we can kind of deal with the Reuniclus with the Appleton. I think Scrafty could have definitely been usable here, but that 4 times weakness, we don't want to fight against like the one person that's using like Dazzling Gleam over a Moonblast on Primarina, because I actually think the Appleton is special defense bulky enough to actually eat like 1 Moonblast, depending on the Primarina item. If it's the standard vest set on the Primarina, we could probably eat the Moonblast, but you know, we wouldn't want to eat like a Life Orb or an Expert Bug boosted one. So we can see he's actually going for the Redirection Trick Room. And so like I talked about, like didn't I just talk about this in the team preview, how Safety Goggles might be a little bit of a better option in this exact situation? It looks like it'd be the better option. I think we still kind of want to try for the taunt. I think you still kind of have to try for it, but you know, just take this all with like, you know, grain of salt. These are things that like the whole point of us even using these teams in this way is to show little things that you know, I might be able to show you that can tweak your teams for some better matchups. There's not that much we can do. We're actually just going to go for a Rock Slide flinch here, and I do really like the Rock Slide potential on this Urshifu. I actually just super love it. They could be Dynamaxing, but there's the Rage Powder. So we're going for the taunt. It's getting redirected, which it wouldn't have been redirected if we had the Safety Goggles, because remember, Goggles make it so we're not affected by any powder moves. If we do get the flinch here, though, on the Reuniclus, we can just go for the same play next turn, because the Amoonguss won't be able to spam the Rage Powder because he's now taunted. So we do flinch. So you can see that even though we didn't have the safety goggles when we were fine, the correct play that we made in that very niche situation still made it so we're still fine. We can still just taunt this Reuniclus now. We can even actually just nuke the Reuniclus now because he can't Rage Powder. So, like, I think you actually just take this time to just go for a dual Wing Beat. Actually, I don't think I need the Sash right now. I actually think I just want to hit my move. Actually, we're not going to use Flare Blitz just because I don't want him switching in Colossal. Actually, it doesn't matter if he switches in Colossal, does he? Because we're using Searching Strikes. Yeah, I don't want to miss. And I also think another reason why we can totally use Safety Goggles on this set is because we're using Flare Blitz. It doesn't really matter. Oh, I'm Choice Scarf. I'm an idiot. That means we're going to have to Dynamax then, which is still completely fine at this point. And also, Safety Goggles would make it so if we want to go for like a Max Rockfall, we wouldn't be taking damage from that. Just Safety Goggles on Talonflame is just such a good move. Yeah, this is fine. Got to get the Reuniclus off the board. If he wants to come in with Premier Nerf, battles canceled. I'll take the wins. I'll definitely take those wins. Yeah, we're testing on casual. We're going to be talking about why we're testing on casual in just a little bit. It's because some of the EVs on this team need a lot of work. We are going to be working on completely tweaking all of the EVs. All of the teams you guys submit to me on Patreon will get a full team fixing at the end of every single video. So what we want to do is we want to play the team for a few games, and then after that, I'm going to show the submitted paste bin, where we show like all the stats that you guys submitted, all the moves, and then I'm going to show you guys how I would tweak it to make it a little bit more competitive. So hopefully you guys like that stuff. Stick around until the end of the video, because we're going super in-depth breaking all that stuff down. Let's get into another game, though, because that one was pretty short. Let's get into another one. Here we go. Alright, going up into another game of Series 6 battles, we have Dracovish Arcanine Amoonguss. See, another reason why, like, those safety goggles, man. I also wanted to clarify about those safety goggles from the last game. Yeah, safety goggles wouldn't work against Follow Me. It's literally only for the Amoonguss matchup. It makes Talonflame able to still target the things down that it wants to target. So if they have like Amoonguss Corviknight, I can just nuke that Corviknight right in the face, and there's no way they can play around that. It makes so when they want to play that Amoonguss setup mon, I can still attack their setup mon, and it's really, really nice. And if they want to, use a Follow Me user, and Follow Me obviously would not be, Talonflame with the safety goggles couldn't go through the Follow Me, but, I wouldn't lead Talonflame in that situation. It's literally only for the Amoonguss. It also makes Talonflame a great Pokemon at switching in on Amoonguss, because we can just block Spores. So now that we talked about that, let's see what we actually want to do here. I'm kind of digging Toxtricity here. There is a big potential for neutralizing gas, but like Toxtricity doesn't really care. We also have just more Talonflame energy if we want to go for big Tailwinds. That could totally be like a Scarf Dracovish, I think. I think I'm actually going to lead Scrafty here. I think Scrafty just having a Fake Out on the Dracovish is really nice. And then we're kind of struggling for ways to deal with that Dracovish. We're going to fish for Para. We're going to bring one of these because it's El Scarfo. And then we just need one more mon. I think we're going to be the Talonflame in the back. Just because Talonflame is a pretty good mon to have in the back. It'd be even better if we had those safety goggles. I think Talonflame coming in mid-game, people definitely do sleep on the impact like a mid to late game Talonflame can have. If we look at that guy's team, there's like a Corviknight, there's an Amoonguss, there's a lot of Pokemon like Hydreigon and Arcanine that if you come in and aren't intimidated on your Talonflame, you can easily do over half or even more to some of those Pokemon, especially if you're using a super effective attack. So we see Dracovish, Corviknight. I think it's a great lead. I think it's like super good. I'm actually really happy that we have this exact lead to punish it. Because Dracovish is a Pokemon that would absolutely tear us apart. I'm super excited to get an Intimidate upon it. I could care less if we Intimidate ourselves, because we're just going to be Fake Out on the Dracovish, and we're going to be going for a super big G-Max Stun Shock, or whatever that max attack is, to potentially neuter the Dracovish. I actually think I kind of want to hit it. He doesn't have any ground type, so I could actually go for it into the Corviknight. I guess he would switch out for Amoonguss, but I think it's okay. Yeah, let's think about it. I think the Fake Out here is just fine. I'm just curious who I should really be hitting. If we roll the Para on the Dracovish, we're in an amazing spot. Yeah, I think it might be a little bit greedy to go for the Corviknight. The thing is he could Max Guard it. I could hit the Corviknight next turn. Yeah, I think that's the right play. I think this is the right play to go after the Dracovish. Because he could totally Max Guard the Corviknight to block my Fake Out. And Dracovish is Scarf, most likely. They're always Scarf. They're so Scarf. That's such a Scarf Dracovish, right? So I want to get that damage on the Dracovish because I really do respect that option. Like, think about it. They have Weezing, too. So it's like, if they ever want to switch in that Weezing and they have that Scarf Dracovish, even without the ability Strong Jaw, Vicious Ren kind of just tears through my whole team. I got a Talonflame that can't use Gale Wings. I guess I have a sash on it. But, like, I still am super respecting Strakovish, and I'm not really caring about Tailwind as much because I'm trying to go for the big hacks plays. Looks like we outsped that Corviknight too. Really, really nice. Big damage here, and at this point, even Poison would be really good on that Dracovish because he's so low. But I do get the para, and that's great. So we're going to see Tailwind. Brave Bird. Yo, that's absolutely fine. Hit my Scrafty all you want. Like, take that absolutely massive recoil. Like, that's some big recoil. That kind of puts you within range for my max attack. And it looks like we rolled the Poison on the Corviknight, which kind of sucks. But we outspeed that Corviknight. We do outspeed it. Let me see. Could I have Lashed Out? Because I technically lowered my stats. I think I'm just going to go for a Drain Punch. They're the same strength. I think I'm going to try and Drain Punch with Strakovish and try and steal a KO. And I'm going to try and go for just a Stun Shock here. We'll see if I even outspeed the Dracovish with the Scrafty. But we are going to be able to kill the Corviknight, which is actually really nice. Big damage. And Survey says, yo, big crits. Yo, we didn't even need it. We only have one turn left to max, which is kind of scary considering they have all 3 of their max turns left. I'd like to... Nah, he still outspeeds. The power of Scarfish, yo. I think that's kind of okay, because at this point, that Dracovish is... I'm not going to say like a sitting duck, but it's not really doing a lot. And it can't really do that much against like a Toxtricity that's going first and even a Urshifu that's going first. I might even be able to just Rock Slide here, depending on what he sends out. I think Urshifu is by far and away the best target here. Saving that Talonflame again for the latest possible game is probably our best bet. And you see Urshifu is going to be intimidated by this Arcanine, but remember, Surging Strikes goes through Intimidates because it's automatically crit. So it's such a good situation to be in here. Surging Strikes should be able to one-shot there. We still have 1 turn left on the Tox as well. I don't know which one I actually do want to use. I'm thinking about actually going for a Stun Shock into the Dracovish slot, but I think I'm just going to Ooze because I want to give a special attack boost to my Tox. It's hard to say exactly. If he maxes Dracovish, this might not KO. Like, Max Ooze is such a weaker move, but I think the Max Ooze is an okay play here. And I think the Arcanine is going to go down. I don't think I needed to go for a Stun Shock there. He is maxing his Arcanine. He's still going to take a lot of damage here. I guess I should have actually went for the Stun Shock into the Dracovish slot to get the para or the Poison. But remember, we do have Talonflame in the back. We're going to be sitting pretty with this big max Toxtricity for the remainder of this turn. Maybe he'll actually hit the Toxtricity slot so we can use our double HP stat to soak some of that damage. So big damage. Remember, goes right through that Intimidate. Don't you just love it when that happens? And let's see if he has like a Citrus Berry or something. It's a pretty common item on Arcanine. Survey says no citrus. All right, so he's actually within Brave Bird range. So that's really, really nice. We actually almost just got the KO right there. And I want to talk a little bit about the Urshifu EV spread that we're using today. This Urshifu EV spread on this exact set is an adamant one, but I actually think we're going to be changing it a little bit, which I'll be talking about at the end of the video. I don't think that you need all the points that you have in attack on this Urshifu, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. The raw DC. Yo, I'd DC too. I would DC too if I got absolutely dumpstered. And, you know, there's a lot of salty people today. But you know what? We're playing pretty serious, and we're playing the game pretty correctly right now. We definitely locked down his Scarf Dracovish and made Toxtricity just the star of the show. We never got a Throat Spray proc, but next turn we were going to get one, and it was going to be absolutely massive. So, pretty good. I think the only thing I could have actually done there differently in that situation was go for the Stun Shock to potentially get a Para or a Poison on the Arcanine, but at the end of the day, it wasn't really that important. So, since these 2 games have been super quick, we are going to go into one more. I mean, you could totally do that. It really, really doesn't matter because we're thick. We are dummy thick on this Urshifu set. And Urshifu, note that it has a 100 base HP and 100 base defense. That's a physical max lightning. And so we're going to be able to eat that just fine. That's why he DC'd. But we're going to go into one more game. Hopefully we can get a little bit longer game. Let's go into one more. All right, it's looking like the last game of the day is going to be going up against Mudsdale Mandibuzz. I think Mandibuzz is actually a super cool pick right now. Galvantula, Lapras, Toxicroak, and Full Apple. Actually, a bunch of really cool picks here. I'm actually kind of a fan of the Toxtricity. Tox is a pretty good matchup against most of those. We don't have the greatest matchup versus Mudsdale, but I think if we go like Urshifu Toxtricity, we can actually put a lot of pressure because we can just go for a close combat in the Lapras before we can max. and we can go for a big like stun shock into the Lapras and hopefully pick up a KO on that thing before it can actually get anything done. And if you decide to leave Mudsdale instead, we just go for the Surging Strikes. Even if he has stamina, we're going to be able to crit through that every single turn. We can, you know, potentially even do a little bit something with Toxtricity there. Toxtricity also has Snarl. I think if we wanted to play this game really slow, we could go like Toxtricity, Scrafty here, go for Fake Outs, go for double Snarl plays. But I think that the aggressive play here would be the Urshifu Water and the Tox. I don't think I need Talonflame in the back, but I am going to bring it just because it is a priority move mon. And I don't really know exactly what I want my last mon to be. I'm not really a fan of bringing the Comfey here because there's no real potential for them to Trick Room, so I don't really need to stall anything out. I think I'm just going to bring the Scrafty for Intimidates and a little bit of a better matchup with Fake Out. So like I can swing the game a little bit more in my direction if I need to. Fake Out's really, really good against Toxicroak and Galvantula, two Pokemon that are preferably known to hold sashes. So depending on how they want to be played, Scrafty can be really, really good, especially in that part of the matchup. So we're going to go into the game right here, and let's actually see what they're going to lead with. I'm expecting a Lapras lead, just because that's kind of what that team says. Like, Lapras Galvantula seems pretty standard. Okay. Hey, you know what? I've been wrong before. I believe it or not, I've been wrong. So let's see actually how we do want to do this. I'm confident that this Toxtricity with this EV spread that has a little bit of speed will outspeed that Mandibuzz. I think I'm actually just going to go for the Surging Strikes. And the real question is, if I can KO that the Mudsdale, I think actually we're going to do it like this. Watch. So I think you want to Stun Shock this guy, because I'm going to be able to hit that regardless of whether the Mudsdale hits me. And so if I Surging Strike that Mudsdale, if he doesn't max, or he's not holding like an Eopapa Berry like a Citrus, he will lose the Mudsdale, right? He could also be switching in the Mudsdale for like, what is he? He could be switching in the Mudsdale for like Lapras. But if he doesn't max, he's going to lose the Mudsdale. And so I'll be able to trade my Tox for his Mandibuzz and then put his Mudsdale in a situation where he'll be KO'd next turn. And I also can potentially roll a Poison on it, which would give me the extra take. And so if I can trade my Dynamax for his Mandibuzz and his Dynamax, that'd be a much better trade for me. And if he, you know, doesn't Dynamax it, he just loses both of them. So we're going to be trying to pin our opponents. And the only real bad thing about this situation is if he wants to bring in Lapras a little bit later and doesn't Dynamax with any of these, my Urshifu's locked into Surging Strikes. So that would be kind of lame, but then we just switch to our Assault Vest Scrafty, put up some Snarls, wait things out, and then from there we just reset, bring out close combat, wait out some of the, you know, wait out some of those screens, and then we'll be probably fine. But it looks like they're going to be maxing the Mandibuzz. Okay, they hit me with that left field curveball. You still might go away. Now, let's see. We don't have a Throat Spray proc, but I think we're still in a great spot because the Mudsdale should be going down. I have no clue what its EV spread is, but normally they're like vested with like HP specialty, and so they rely on stamina to get those boosts, which you can see right here. But remember, crits go through defense boosts. That's why Urshifu is such a powerful Pokemon right now. And you can get all the stamina boosts you want, Chief, but at the end of the day, you ain't got nothing. And if we get a full para here, or if we roll para, even if he's going for Airstreams, it's not really going to be that impactful. So let's see. Survey says, what are we rolling here? Like I said before, I'm going to be outspeeding that Mandibuzz, going for the big stun shocks. Absolutely massive damage. Any of the... I'd like to get a para, but like we'll see what we roll. It's actually okay. The only bad thing about Poison is we might actually roll him into a Pinch Berry, which would not be cool. Yeah, he's not going to get the KO there. But the thing about it is, like, I still think I'm fine. The reason this Urshifu is actually such a threat is because it's holding a Choice Scarf. Now, we were able to completely hide that Choice Scarf, and so he doesn't actually know that we are Choice Scarf right now. So we're actually still going to be able to outspeed that Mandibuzz, KO with the Urshifu, and then use our G-Max Toxtricity to be able to still correctly pin the Pokemon that he has in the back. So let's see what's coming out. Boogle, what is it? Survey says, yo, it's Galvantula. Wise choice. I think Galvantula's a really good Pokemon right now. I'm just going to go for the Surging Strikes. I'm going to be able to KO this one. He's going to be able to take out my Urshifu most likely with that Galvantula, but then he's ignoring my Toxtricity. We're able to go for more Max Oozes, and then we're going to go bring out Talonflame mid to late game and then just seal the deal with Brave Bird. That's what we've been talking about, is using that late game Talonflame to seal the deal, switch in, and just finish off our opponents. I really do like the Safety Goggles potential on the Talonflame that we were talking about, but I also think like Banded Talonflame is personally my favorite set, and you can kind of see that, you know, playstyle bleeding in even when I play other people's teams. I feel that one of the cool things about using Patreon submitted teams is the people that submit the teams get to see a completely different player's you know, aspect of how they would play the team. So really, really good max guard there. I think that's so smart because they're able to scout for Scarf Urshifu. Like, such a good play. Like, seriously, we outspent the Galvantula, which is kind of nutty. But that's such a good play because he's able to correctly scout. I wonder if he's actually going for like a discharge or something even better, like something greedier than just like a Thunderbolt or a Volt Switch. Give me a Sticky Web. I think that's kind of expected to see from a Galvantula player. But at this point in the game, I just feel like I'm in a really, really good spot. The Mandibuzz is taken out. Looks like he's not rocking any super crazy berry. And we know that we already outspeed the Galvantula, so we can just go for the Surgeon Strikes there. And I'll just go for a second G-Max Ooze. I'm about to be popping it off, literally. But yeah, being able to get a, you know, another player's opinion of how they like to play your team and how, like, personally, you saw, like, with this, like, the 3 games we played today, I played this team incredibly aggressive and focused heavily on pinning your opponent and, you know, just correctly controlling the board with speed control. And I think that's how I would like to play this team. But I'm sure Haru, the person who submitted this team, plays it a lot more reserved. Like, I didn't really use the Appleton. I didn't really use the Scrafty. But I brought them a couple of times just in case I did need to play the long game. And that's how I personally do like to play the Season 6 format. I like to, you know, be aggressive at the start. And if my opponent's going to play a really reserved Trick Room game or a reserved longer game through some snarls and screens, then I switch in my walls. Then I open myself up to be able to potentially play the long game. And that's how I think Series 6 should be played right now. But that's just my opinion. Maybe if you guys agree with me, let me know in the comments below. But if you guys think differently, if you think there's a different way to play Series 6, maybe there's you know, something you guys can let me know about that. So we are going to lose our, what is it? We're going to lose the Dynamax form. We actually have to switch because, again, we're locked into Surging Strikes, and that could be a potential Water Absorb Lapras. Like I just said, switch in the Scrafty. I think we actually just one-shot here. Overdrive, boosted by Punk Rock. That's a +2. Super effective. You can't max. I'm probably going to be getting it. So we're going to switch in the Scrafty. Also resets the Fake Out just in case something weird would happen. But Scrafty going to be popping on in here. Scrafty, what an absolutely amazing Pokemon. Scrafty's Speedful. Why did oh, I got the Sticky Web. Yo, that's actually kind of nutty. That's kind of nutty. Yo, Sticky Web. You'll love to see it. But Overdrive, are you vested, Lapras? Survey says you're going down for the count, Chief. One-hit KO. And again, even if they wanted to lead Lapras turn 1, I think the Toxtricity with the potential to go for that big G-Max attack and like a choice Scarf Urshifu just slamming in a close combat would have actually been able to pick up the KO. But those are the 3 games we're going to be playing with this team. I want to say thank you so much to Haru for submitting this team. We're going to take a look at all of the EV spreads of everything they submitted. I had to take all these numbers. I went into the Battle Tower and plugged in the rental code that they gave me. They didn't even give me a paste spin. I had to plug all the numbers into there, and I actually found that they were not correctly utilizing all of their EVs. So we're going to take a look at all of their EVs, what they did right, what they did wrong, and what I would personally switch for this team moving forward. Let's hop right into that. Here we go. Alright, so to start off with, we're going to be taking a look at the rental code and the team submitted by Haru right here, just so we can get a general overview of all of the moves that they chose for this team. Overall, I like a lot of the move choices, and for the most part, I like a lot of the Mon choices. I think Urshifu Talonflame is a great core, especially Urshifu Talonflame Toxtricity. I feel there's a ton of synergy there. You have, you know, Toxtricity with 4 times ground weakness. Talonflame can block that. Talonflame weak to those water attacks. Urshifu blocks it. Talonflame weak to those electric attacks. Toxtricity blocks it. Urshifu weak against, you know, Fairy. Weak against, you know, Flying. Toxtricity blocks that. There isn't anything to block the psychic damage, but then we have the Scrafty coming in here. So, like, we have a bunch of really cool synergy there. I'm not actually liking the Comfey here, but I do completely understand why it's on the team. You know, you have the Scrafty, the Appleton, and the Toxtricity. All Pokemon that can definitely work in Trick Room, especially against other teams that want to go for a super obvious, like, Tailwind turn 1 lead. So if, like, in a Talonflame Mirror matchup, I could totally see you going with, like, Comfey, trying to pop that Trick Room, trying to play a little bit longer game. I will say this team has a little bit too much flying weakness for me, in that you have, like, Urshifu, Scrafty, and Appleton, and the fact that, like, we're going to look at your EVs in a little bit. You actually can't do that much against other opposing Talonflames, but overall, I think the team is a lot of fun, and I think if I were to keep these exact 6 Mons, I would definitely think about switching the Aromatherapy because I just don't feel it's really needed on the Comfey. I don't really know what you would put there either, but you know what? Let's start looking at the EVs. This is where I really want to take a look, and this is where I think I'm going to have the most impact in someone that can actually help you make your team into a better version of itself. So we're going to be taking a look at Showdown, I think. Right? Maybe Showdown? There it is. So we have Showdown already pulled up. And so like I said, I had to take this rental code, plug it into the battle tower, and then take all of their stats and just kind of say, all right, cool, at 176, how do I get that? 200, how do I get that? And get all of their numbers for all of their EVs, put in all their moves as well. And what I actually found out was you're doing two things that are not really optimal. First of all, you're not really putting your points in your stats that give you the most bang for your buck. Like for your Scrafty, for example, using an adamant-natured Scrafty when Scrafty has a 90 base attack, but then you're also going for like 100 points in Special D when it's actually smarter. You get more bang for your buck putting your nature in whatever your highest stat is, if possible. And so I'm going to be showing you how to correctly get, like, I'm going to completely take apart this EV spread, and I'm going to give you an EV spread that gives you more EVs to work with by correctly using your natures correctly. And a lot of people, that's something you just wouldn't know unless people told you, like, what? I just thought I could put the nature wherever I want. But no, you're actually going to get more because it's 10% of whatever you're actually doing it. The nature is 10%. So you're going to be getting more bang for your buck putting your natures in other places that you're already using EVs in. And also another thing that you're doing wrong on the team, I don't want to be like super rude, but you're not actually using all of your EVs on a lot of these teams. So like the Urshifu, for example, used all its EVs. The Scrafty has 12 left over. The Talonflame used it all. The, the Appleton used it all. But the Toxtricity still had 12 left over. And 12 is a really weird number to still have left over. I remember EVs go in multiples of you can put 4 EVs in a stat like this, right? So let's go to 0. You see it's at 90. So if we go 4, it goes to 91. Now, if we were playing level 100, it'd be every multiple of 4. So there'd be like 8, you know? 8 would be if we roll 100. 8 would make us go to like the next one, and then 12, and then 16. But level 50 stats are a little bit different. So the first 4 is what gets you to 91, and then after that, it's every 8 after. So instead of 4, 8, 16, 20, it's 4, 12, 20, 28. You're starting to see a situation. And so having that, having 12 left over, but only like one more stat that you could put it in means, yeah, you could put like 4 here, but then you have 8 left over. You have to put like 8 somewhere else. It's a little bit weird. And, you know, what we're going to be doing is correctly tweaking your EV spreads. And again, another example here is you're using a timid nature, but Toxtricity has such a low base speed compared to its special attack stat, which you're already putting points in. This actually really only applies when you're still using points in the stat that we're talking about. Like, you want to be able to put your natures in your stat that gives you the most value, because you're getting 10% of whatever you're putting into it. And then the Comfey is okay. So let's actually talk about the EV spreads that you submitted and how you're correctly utilizing them, and then we'll talk about what I want to change. So the Urshifu example, you're using just a standard scarf set with an adamant, and I think that that's okay. I think that is okay. Now, you're still going to be faster than pretty much everything in the format, other than other scarf-based like 100 mons, like a Scarf Zard or Zard that has an Airstream boost. It's still going to be able to outspeed you, and you know, they don't even have to be timid, right? They just have to be, you know, modest, and they're still going to be able to outspeed you, which is kind of lame. Same thing for like Hydreigons. Those things are going to be able to outspeed you as well. They don't even have to be timid. You're starting to see what I'm talking about. Like, actually, if an Arcanine or a Darmanitan, if you were to fight a Darmanitan, a Jolly Scarf Darmanitan would be outspeeding you, and that's something you actually do not want. So those Pokemon can get to a 161 number. You know, I found that out by running an Arcanine and just making it look like what would a timid Arcanine, or sorry, a Jolly Arcanine look like. You can see it goes to 161. And so since Arcanine is really popular, since Darmanitan with Scarf is super popular, and we want to be able to outspeed those Pokemon with our Urshifu, so I decided to switch over EV spread. I decided to take the points out of the attack, which I know I just talked about, put your points where you're using them, but I put us at 162, which means it's going to do two things for us. First of all, it's going to make us outspeed Arcanines, it's going to make us outspeed Darmanitans, as well as a bunch of other things like, you know, even like a +1 speed Timid Duraludon, or like a Scarf Timid Duraludon, into those Pokemon in the base 80s, 85s. We're still going to be outspeeding those, you know, pesky Pokemon that hang around in those numbers, but also it's going to help us outspeed or force our opponents to use timid Charizards, to use timid Hydreigons, timid Pokemon that are in the base 100 speeds. Otherwise, we will be outspeeding them, and there's two scenarios where it's going to come into play. The scenario where they are also at +1 for maybe a max Airstream boost, or a scenario where we are actually in Dynamax mode and we have lost our Choice Scarf. Remember, you lose your Choice Scarf upon Dynamaxing, so we still want to be faster than those things. It let us actually, we lost a little bit of attack in our Urshifu, but we got a much more solid speed stat, and actually we're afforded the luxury, since we don't need to go 252, since we only need 162 here, we're afforded the points of putting the extra 12 points in our HP, which is our second highest stat, and it's better to go HP than defense on this guy, because again, we are going to be maxing, and remember, when you do Dynamax, you double your HP. So remember, if we just to show how EV training works, if we didn't have those, that's 2 extra points that we didn't really have before. So again, we got 4, and then the next copy would be 8, so we go up to 12. So those are the thresholds, right? So I just want to show you, like, look at this number. Look at this number right here. It's 177. So I would put 1 EV there in HP. That's through killing like any Pokemon that has, you know, that gives HP EVs. Like a Wobbuffet would give 2. There's a lot of Pokemon that give 1. An HP up would give 10, for example. So we see 1, 2, 3. So even at 3 EVs, we haven't really done anything yet. At 4, that's where we get our first point, and then we're going to continue. 5, what is it? Yeah, 4, 5. It's the same number. 6, 7. We're still 176. 8. It doesn't change. 9, the same, stays the same. Just because we're on a double digits doesn't mean it's going up from 176. Keep an eye on that number. 11, and then the next number, or sorry, 11's right there. And then the next number is 12. That's where we get the number. I really want to drive this home for people that are learning how to EV train. It goes in multiples, right? It goes, the first 4 give you a point, and then 8 after. So it's 4, 12, 20, 28, 36. That's how all of these work. If you're ever curious if you're doing your EV spreads correctly, run it just like how I was doing. Like, just go up 1 every single time, and you'll see where the next number is right there. So I really want to drive that home, because I feel that this is a really important thing that not only you can learn from, but everyone else watching at home can learn from as well. So that's pretty much the Urshifu spread. We're losing a little bit of attack, but we're securing the speed control that we need, which is really important, and we're getting a little bit bulkier for it. We're not just throwing those stats away. So the next Pokemon I want to look at is Scrafty. I think Scrafty is a really important one. This is where I actually did a lot of work. This was your EV spread, right? You have 236 there, which is weird. Normally Scrafties do kind of want to be maxed out a little bit, because while their HP is low, it's a similar thing to Chansey, where their other defensive stats are so high that you would get diminishing returns by really dumping a lot of stuff into these, whereas the HP, you really want to max that out, because HP points are actually more valuable than defense points and special defense points, because they help mitigate everything. You get a 1.5 boost to your like overall stats on your on your HP as opposed to everything else. I can go into that whole nother calc thing. That's a whole nother thing for another day, but you actually get more points by putting points in your HP most of the time, especially if it's a lower number. That's why like Eviolite mons, like you know, Dusclops, Togetic, Clefairy, that's why they're so bulky, is because their regular defense and specialty stats get boosted through the roof, and then they have like decent HP pools. They're usually in the 60s or 70s, which makes them just super bulky. But here's your spread, right? You're still not using all your points, and you're putting your nature into one that is not really beneficial. So I want you to take a look at these numbers on the side. We're going to replicate those numbers and give you more points. We're going to allocate your EVs to give you the same kind of numbers. We're going to still keep like your 148 here. We're still going to keep, I think, your 137, but we're going to have you have more points at the end based on what I did. And it's actually going to be a lot easier EV spread than something like this. And we're going to correctly use your last 12 in the EV spread that I made, which is going to be right here. So again, all I found was that though you were using Adamant before and you wanted to hit that threshold of 148. We actually got that threshold of 148 by just making it a careful nature, because your because your nature can be changed to careful, which is like boosting special D. So I actually think that it's just a lot better just to go right away for that. And then from there, we were afforded the luxury of putting the last points in HP up here. We only put a little bit in attack while still getting the same number of 237. And so we correctly used your points, but we actually got a lot more HP value out of it. Before, like now we're at 172, whereas you were at 170. So we got 2 more points of bulk while still keeping all of the other numbers exactly the same. And it's that little thing of like min-maxing. Like that's what min-maxing is, finding the correct way to EV train. And on a Pokemon like Scrafty, getting 2 points of HP where your defenses are already maxed out, like that is absolutely nuts. That's making you, like, that's mitigating like 2 to 3% of every single damaging attack that you're getting just by having 2 more HP at level 50. It's so important. Like every HP point matters so much. Being able to squeeze that out with an EV spread like this, which is actually a lot easier to make than the one you were using, is actually really cool. And so we're gonna look at the Talonflame here. I do think that the Talonflame, I know that you're using Sash here, but I really do think that like a Goggles will be better. I'm not going to actually switch that when I do the official Paceman switch, but I feel I did prove my point saying that Talonflame should definitely have safety goggles on this team because it makes it just so much better at stopping the TR, which I feel that's the only reason you're running Taunt. So you might as well actually just rock the safety goggles on this Pokemon. It also protects you from like hail damage, sandstorm damage, spores, things like that. I know that you're using an Adamant Talonflame, and I talked a little bit about this, and that Adamant Talonflame actually like can't fight other Talonflames because they'll always outspeed you and they'll just like dumpster you. They'll go for an Airstream, right, and they'll just murk you right in the face. They'll take away your Gale Wings, and then they gave their teammate a speed boost, and then their teammate just hits your Talonflame. So it's a lose-lose, right? It's a lose-lose if you're using Adamant Talonflame, especially on your team, which is weak to other Talonflames. If you were faster than their Talonflame, you'd be able to do the exact same thing to them. So you always want to be jolly to force that. And so, again, the only real change I made was, unfortunately, just like the Urshifu, we can't get away with Adamant. We have to go jolly in this situation because it's such a popular Pokemon. I actually didn't change anything about the Appleton. I think the Appleton has a pretty cool set. I don't know if I like the Eopapa Berry. I think on anytime you want to run Protect, I personally run Leftovers, but that's just my opinion. So if you want to take that advice and run Leftovers there, I think you'd actually find a little bit more value, but the EV spread actually does work. This is a good example of correctly using your nature. And you also, once Pokemon get above like 100 base stats, you actually don't want to put like 252 into that whatever stat is, because you'll start getting diminishing returns. So it's actually really smart to just go 220 there. So really good stuff. Correct use of EV spreads there. The next Pokemon though is probably the biggest one. It's going to be Toxtricity. And so if we look at your Toxtricity set, similar to the Scrafty, you weren't utilizing all of your EVs, and your nature was in one of your lower stats, right? It's we really want to put that nature into our special attack since we're already putting points there. We can get this exact same numbers, right? We can get the same HP, we can get the same special attack, we can get the same speed, but we're going to be afforded a ton more points. Watch how we do this here. So we're going to go into the Toxtricity here. So we have the same everything, but you see we're afforded the luxury. If the only change we're really making is instead of timid, we're going modest. So we don't have to put as many points in speed. We can just go modest. Sorry, we have to put more points in speed, right? But our nature's taking the brunt of the work. Like, use your nature to your advantage. And we actually get an extra defense point out of it. We actually get an extra special D and an extra special attack point out of it. So we get 3 extra points worth of work by correctly utilizing our EVs here and our nature in conjunction with that. So it's actually super important. I like the Toxtricity set. Personally, I am a fan of using Boom Burst, and not just because, you know, Boom Burst is the coolest move in the game. I know it hits your partner, but you can max strike your opponents to correctly add up more speed control. I do like the Snarl though. Snarl on Scrafty, Snarl on Toxtricity, make it so you have a much better matchup versus Special Attack or Lapras and stuff like that. So I do understand. Also pretty good matchup versus Primarina. But those are 2 Pokemon you just overdrive. So I'm okay with the Snarl. If you want to use it, that's completely fine. But this is a much better EV spread to correctly deal with those situations. And last but not least, here's the Comfey. That's a good Comfey set. That's actually like a really good set. I looked at like putting the nature over here and messing with that, but you actually don't get that much difference because these numbers are so similar. And I couldn't actually replicate getting 146 in defense while not using the nature. So like I feel like if you want that number and that's the number you want to get, that's completely fine. I do think that you actually should be using heavy defense on a Comfey, especially even though you have a Scrafty. This is a good EV spread for that Pokemon. So this was the team. These are the changes that I made. I'm going to be sending a paste bin of the changes that I made into this video as well. So hopefully you like it. The only item changes I would really make are the the safety goggles on the Talonflame, the leftovers on the Appleton. I also talked briefly about I don't really like the Comfey on this team, but maybe you can leave a comment letting me know how you personally like to play Comfey. I feel like Comfey Tox is actually really nice, but I don't feel you need the Aromatherapy. I feel that like Ally Switch would be a much better option there, and then we'd have to take out its safety goggles, maybe we'd have to put like a Mental Herb. I feel at that point you might as well just put something else that helps deal with some other bad matchups instead of trying to secure, like, I feel like this, if this was like an Amoonguss, I don't really know, maybe a redirection mon that's not Amoonguss, like any redirection mon to keep your opponent honest might be a really good situation here. So I want to say thank you so much, Haru, for submitting this team. If anyone else has teams they want to submit, they can check out my Patreon. There's links to it in the description of this video. I'm going to be probably going over 5 or 6 teams from the most recent team submission sheet, and I'm going to be doing this same amount of work for all of them. So if you guys want to do that, I would really appreciate it. And like I was talking about, it's a great chance to get another player's view on your team and really, you know, have a chance to, you know, have multiple eyes on it, because I'm not the only one that watches it. Everyone on YouTube watches it, and we all get to, you know, add, oh, I really like this move choice, I really like this, or this is how I like to play this. If you're really looking at, you know, making your team the best that it can be, definitely think about hitting it up. It's only $2 for the lowest tier. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.